Welcome back to the Dinar Daily, where we closely examine the narratives shaping conversations around international currencies. Today, we are diving into a story that has gained significant traction within communities focused on the Iraqi dinar. This narrative centers on the possibility of a dramatic shift in the currency's value, a topic that has sparked intense discussion and analysis. The core of this story revolves around mathematical projections based on hypothetical future exchange rates. It's a development that many have followed for years, and the recent discussions have brought renewed focus from observers around the globe, all watching to see how Iraq's economic story unfolds. A central element in these discussions is a specific, widely circulated calculation. This arithmetic takes the 25,000 Iraqi dinar note, which currently exchanges for a relatively small amount of US dollars, and applies a hypothetical future rate. The rate most often used in this example is $4.28 per dinar. When this multiplication is performed, the 25,000 multiplied by 4.28, the result is $107,000. This staggering figure is not based on any current official rate but is presented within these narratives as a potential outcome of a long-discussed currency realignment. This single calculation has become a powerful symbol within the community, representing the vast difference between the currency's present-day trading value and a theoretical risk-reward valuation. The excitement surrounding this $107,000 figure stems from the theoretical interplay between Iraq's economic fundamentals and its potential future monetary policy. While many mainstream financial analysts remain skeptical, arguing that such a drastic revaluation is highly improbable, proponents of the narrative insist on a different perspective. They argue that the calculation is a reflection of a nation's return to financial sovereignty. Supporters of this view frequently point to Iraq's immense oil wealth, its reported improvements in fiscal policy, and ongoing structural reforms as justification. The entire conversation is framed as a matter of risk-reward value, suggesting that a major currency realignment could be warranted by the nation's underlying economic potential. So, why are these discussions gaining momentum now? According to the narrative, the answer lies in a convergence of factors that proponents believe Iraq has not seen in decades. First and foremost is the country's oil revenue. Reports indicate that Iraq's oil exports have reached significant levels, with some analysts pointing to more than 4 million barrels per day, with crude oil prices often hovering in the $80 range. This translates to a massive daily inflow of US dollars. This revenue stream is often cited as providing the Central Bank of Iraq, or CBI, with the necessary liquidity and foreign reserves to potentially support the stronger national currency. In parallel with the discussions about oil revenue, there is a strong focus on Iraq's digital banking transformation. Proponents of the revaluation theory frequently highlight Iraq's efforts to link its financial institutions with global standards like SWIFT and ISO 20022. These are international payment protocols that allow for faster, more transparent, and more secure global settlements. The adoption of these modern standards is interpreted within the narrative as a critical step toward transparency, accountability, and, most importantly, compatibility with Western financial systems. This technological leap is seen as a prerequisite for any significant change in the dinar's global standing. Another key component of the story is the often misunderstood plan to delete the zeros. While this term can imply devaluation, proponents of the revaluation narrative argue the opposite. They frame it as a redenomination, a technical restructuring of the currency that would accompany, not cause, a change in value. This, combined with reports of Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani's anti-corruption campaigns and the nation's re-engagement with global partners, is presented as part of a comprehensive economic rebirth. These converging factors are used by analysts within this community to explain why they believe a significant valuation adjustment is plausible and strategically timed. Behind the scenes, the narrative suggests that the Central Bank of Iraq has been methodically implementing the technical and regulatory framework necessary for a full-scale monetary reform. A key piece of the story is the pursuit of compliance with the International Monetary Fund's articulate Achieving this status would signify that Iraq allows for the free movement of capital and reinforces the credibility of its exchange rate policy. This is presented as a crucial step toward global acceptance. Such compliance would be a powerful signal to the international financial community that Iraq is committed to open and stable economic policies. Over the last couple of years, according to these reports, the CBI has also been engaged in an internal balance sheet reconstruction. This process is said to ensure that the bank's reserves, capital adequacy, and foreign assets are robust enough to sustain a controlled flow of the currency. In collaboration with Iraq's Finance Committee, the CBI is also reportedly integrating a three-tier budget framework for 2025 and 2026. This budget is allegedly designed specifically to correlate with higher currency valuations and improved revenue distribution, suggesting a forward-looking plan that anticipates a stronger dinar. Furthermore, a persistent rumor within these communities involves reports from sources allegedly within Iraq's financial sector. These reports claim that rate simulations have appeared on test screens within state and private banks. The hypothetical rates mentioned in these rumors range from $3.45 to $4.92 per dinar, figures that align closely with the $4.28 rate used in the $107,000 calculation. These alleged settings are interpreted as tangible evidence of readiness for implementation, hinting that the technical preparations are complete and awaiting only the final political and logistical triggers to be pulled. Many observers frame Iraq's potential currency revaluation not as an isolated event, but as part of a much broader phenomenon known as the global currency realignment, or GCR. This theory posits that the world is gradually moving toward a rebalancing of global exchange rates to better reflect real economic output and tangible asset backing. This concept suggests a shift away from valuation models based purely on fiat currencies and toward systems that are more directly linked to national resources. This idea is not limited to Iraq, as it often includes other emerging markets. Within this GCR framework, nations like Vietnam, Zimbabwe, and Iran are often mentioned alongside Iraq as countries whose central banks are restructuring their monetary systems. The stated goal, according to this theory, is to align with new standards of global finance. The narrative suggests a transition toward asset-backed or resource-linked currencies, where commodities like oil, gold, and rare earth elements become pivotal in determining a nation's wealth and the value of its currency. This would represent a fundamental shift in how the global economy operates, moving away from systems based on debt. If Iraq, as a major OPEC nation with some of the world's largest crude oil and mineral reserves, were to initiate the significant revaluation, this narrative claims it could act as a catalyst. Such a move could, in theory, trigger a domino effect across other resource-rich economies that are also reportedly preparing for monetary reforms. This would effectively redefine how global markets price energy, commodities, and sovereign assets, potentially reshaping international trade settlements. In this emerging paradigm, currency value would become a direct reflection of a country's resource base and its fiscal discipline, rather than speculative market forces. One of the most intriguing components of the dinar story involves persistent reports of major international banks quietly preparing for a large-scale currency exchange event. Financial observers within the community point to unverified internal memos and unofficial confirmations suggesting that several U.S. banking giants, including names like Chase, Wells Fargo, and HSBC, have been holding specialized foreign currency trading sessions. These sessions are allegedly focused on the specific procedures for redeeming foreign currencies under strict U.S. Treasury guidelines for international exchange. While official, public acknowledgement of such trading remains limited or non-existent, the persistence and detail of these reports indicate a level of preparation that proponents find difficult to dismiss. The narrative suggests these leaked briefings are evidence that institutions at the highest level are taking the possibility seriously. This is often paired with reports from obvious Iraqi media outlets that mention the construction or refurbishment of special facilities designated for currency conversion support. This phrase is widely interpreted by analysts in the dinar community as a euphemism for exchange centers or redemption sites. The combination of these two narratives as a U.S. bank's training staff and Iraqi facilities being prepared paints a picture of a logistical and technological infrastructure being calibrated for rapid deployment. This suggests to proponents that the revaluation event could be rolled out efficiently and suddenly, allowing for an immediate transition to a new rate. Whether or not these preparations are timed for an imminent change, their mere existence in the discourse demonstrates that the mechanics of implementation are a central part of this story, with many believing the how is already in place, awaiting only the official when. Every major economic transformation is accompanied by waves of skepticism, and this story is no different. Investor psychology plays a decisive role, especially when public sentiment oscillates between disbelief and anticipation. The narrative often highlights that those who identify opportunities amid silence are the ones who benefit from the next economic wave. It's frequently noted that the world's greatest fortunes are rarely made during times of widespread hype. Instead, they are built quietly during moments of doubt. This concept is often linked to Warren Buffett's famous advice to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Applied to the Iraq scenario, this means that while the broader global market remains cautious or distracted, a community of informed observers is closely studying policy developments, liquidity flows, and international positioning. The current quiet on the official front is not interpreted as stagnation. Instead, the narrative suggests it may signal the calm before the storm, the precise period when transformative financial shifts are being finalized behind closed doors. For those watching, timing is presented as everything. Acting too early invites risk, while acting too late means missing the opportunity entirely, creating a delicate balance between fear and foresight. Adding to this, reports from correspondents and journalists allegedly on the ground in Baghdad and other key Iraqi cities suggest the sentiment surrounding the national currency has shifted. These reports claim the Central Bank of Iraq has begun circulation tests of new currency designs. This supposedly includes the highly discussed 20,000 IQD note, which appears designed to replace and modernize older denominations. The introduction of these redesigned notes is presented as being more than cosmetic. It's seen as a symbol of Iraq's attempt to project financial modernization and regain domestic confidence in its own currency. Citizens in Baghdad, Basra, and Erbil have been quoted in these reports as expressing cautious optimism, voicing hope that their money will finally hold real value again. Unlike previous periods, which may have been marked by rumor-driven speculation, the public dialogue is now described as feeling more rooted in tangible evidence. This includes improved banking access, upgraded ATMs, new digital payment options, and more government transparency about monetary reform. Local shopkeepers have reportedly mentioned seeing the new notes, while young professionals discuss the benefits of an internationally recognized currency. This describes a discernible shift from rumor to readiness. Understanding the how is essential to this narrative. In structured financial systems, a revaluation follows a specific sequence. The process, as described by proponents, would begin with an official announcement by the Central Bank of Iraq, disclosing the new exchange rate and the rationale behind it. Immediately afterward, commercial banks and financial institutions would synchronize their foreign exchange tables and recalibrate their internal software to reflect the updated value. Then, the exchange centers of both domestic and international would be activated to process conversions under preset Treasury or IMF guidelines. In Iraq's anticipated framework, analysts within the community outline a three-stage implementation model. Stage 1 would involve institutional settlements, where business-to-business and government contracts are reconciled under the new rate to ensure liquidity control and market stability. Stage 2 and open the public exchange phase, allowing registered holders and verified investors to redeem or convert their dinar through approved banking channels. Finally, Stage 3 would transition the currency to a global float and stabilization period, during which the market would naturally determine its equilibrium. This gradual, phased rollout is presented as a responsible waitress to war value. Let's bring this story down to a personal level, as the narrative frequently does. For years, the conversation around the Iraqi dinar has felt distant for many. something happening in the abstract halls of policy. But if the projected valuation of $4.28 were to materialize, the implications would become profoundly personal. The narrative asks you to imagine holding just 10-25,000 IQD notes. Under this hypothetical revaluation scenario, those notes would collectively represent over $1 million. This astonishing figure is presented not as a call to extravagance, but as the transformation of potential into tangible opportunity. Such a theoretical windfall, the story goes, could empower individuals to eliminate debt, secure property, launch businesses, or invest in their communities. For many who have followed this story, it symbolizes financial liberation. It is crucial to note that the narrative strongly emphasizes this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Rather, it is framed as a potential reward for strategic patience, discipline, and a long-term belief in Iraq's recovery. The Dinar conversation, once a topic of ridicule, could, in this view, become a testament to what happens when persistence meets preparation. In that sense, the potential million-dollar outcome is presented as being about more than just money. It's about validation, foresight, and the human capacity to believe in rebuilding. Throughout history, the greatest economic turnarounds are being driven by the belief of ordinary people who saw potential where the world saw only chaos. The narrative holds that Iraq's journey is now different. Those who held faith in the nation during its most turbulent years did so when headlines painted a picture of instability. Yet, belief has a way of outlasting circumstance. As Iraq now reportedly stabilizes, rebuilds its infrastructure, and reclaims its place in global trade, that quiet confidence, according to the narrative, is beginning to bear fruit. This moment, if it unfolds as anticipated by proponents, stands as a reminder that patience and uncertainty often precede a breakthrough. The message to those who have held on through cycles of rumor and delay is to take perspective. Each postponement, each period of silence, may have been preparation for a more secure and sustainable outcome. True prosperity is cultivated through endurance and vision. Across the world's financial media, attention toward Iraq's evolving monetary policy is intensifying. The narrative points to major outlets like Bloomberg, Reuters, and reports from the IMF, which have all begun reporting on tangible developments. Bloomberg recently highlighted Iraq's stated goal to restore the prestige of the dinar. Reuters has covered the CBI's initiative to launch a digital currency framework, aligning the nation with next-generation financial systems. Meanwhile, the IMF has publicly praised Iraq for achieving record-level foreign reserves, acknowledging its progress and fiscal discipline. These are not seen as isolated headlines by proponents but as pieces of a coordinated narrative of credibility and reform. Together, they build a mosaic of a nation preparing for re-entry into the global economy on a strong footing. Analysts within the community predict that as Iraq continues on this path, its currency could become a benchmark for regional recovery. Whether one subscribes to the GCR theory or not, it's clear that Iraq's actions are contributing to a broader financial recalibration. The global conversation has shifted from rumor to recognition, from skepticism to serious observation. Given these developments, the narrative heavily stresses preparation. If a revaluation were announced, the difference between being informed and being reactive could be significant. Financial professionals within this space advise holders to stay organized. This means ensuring all documentation, such as purchase receipts and verification certificates for authentic dinar holdings, are properly filed and accessible. Authenticity verification is critical, as counterfeit prevention has been a focus of the CBI, and institutions will likely require proof of legitimacy before processing an exchange. Beyond paperwork, staying informed is deemed essential. Experts in the community recommend monitoring the CBI's official announcements, as well as internationally recognized financial outlets that provide real-time updates. When major currency events unfold, the first 72 hours are often characterized by heightened activity and tighter verification windows. The key, according to this advice, is composure and responding strategically, not emotionally. By staying calm, organized, and fact-driven, observers can navigate what could be a remarkable moment in financial history with clarity. Every financial story that changes history begins with belief, and that belief is tested most when progress seems invisible. The Iraqi dinar journey has become more than a conversation about numbers. It has evolved into a lesson in endurance and hope. For thousands of observers, this chapter symbolizes what it means to keep faith under pressure and focus on fundamentals when the noise of doubt is loudest. Many who participated in this long watch did so out of a conviction that recovery is inevitable when a nation possesses rich resources, human talent, and renewed governance. In that sense, this movement is described as not purely economic, but as a reflection of resilience after years of uncertainty. As Iraq moves toward modernization and global reintegration, those who stayed the course are, in their view, closer than ever to witnessing the results of their patience. Whether the outcome manifests exactly as forecasted or simply reaffirms Iraq's upward trajectory, the larger victory for this community lies in what they believe they have demonstrated: unity, perseverance, and vision. Faith is presented as the unseen currency that powers every turnaround, and fortune, they believe, follows those who never lose sight of that truth.